our past, that's kind of dangerous because then we tend to fix on the best part, especially as people. We tend to fix on the best part of our past, not realizing, well, what is it that brought us down? Now, the first thing most dark folks think is that because white people kept attacking us, that's what brought us down. Now, the infrastructure had to have been eroded. The infrastructure had to have decayed because nobody coming out of caves or just living out as Bedouins, having no structure, no understanding, no science, could have taken you over unless there was an erosion of your integrity. So if you study what brought us down, the study of what made us great is much easier and has a greater significance because now you know what not to do the next time. But a lot of us Africans or melanated people are into the feel-good part. We were great kings. We dress and this is what we did that was good. But we're still trying to deal with these demons that this devil constantly reminds us of, constantly allows to take place, or constantly allows to act. Because the most wicked of us is acting at this time. Now, if we studied Satan, if we studied Lucifer the way we needed to study Lucifer, not the way these devils in Christianity want us to do it, but if we were to study Lucifer and the demons like our ancestors studied evil, with an open mind and with a science, embracing evil and knowing that it's a power. It's nothing else but a power. Just like good is a power that activates you to do what you're doing, evil is a power that activates you to do that. There was no entity controlling evil and another entity controlling good. That's bullshit. And that's what they want you to believe. And that way, they fragment your thinking and they get you over in one camp and then they can identify where you are at the other camp. But when you're a man walking the line and you're an adept, you know both sides. You know evil and you embrace it. You befriend it. And when you befriend evil, there's nothing that surprises you. And you know how evil works. You know the mind of an evil person. And then you mix it in with the goodness, and you have a whole person. As it stands now, these people are so busy psychologically fighting evil that they can't even see evil when it comes anymore. Because evil keep tricking them. And the biggest evil is sitting in the pulpit, talking this bullshit.
It's the alleged good.
Yeah, the alleged good.
So talk more about evil because what I'm getting is, just take it off the first thing, evil is a dynamic.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's actually neutral. Like what you're saying is power, and the evil is only just in how it's used, or good.
Yeah. Well, just like I was telling brother about the plant. I mean, you can deal with herbology, but herbology is an evil in its own right. Now, you could take the evil and titurate it scientifically. That's why if we could take an evil thing, like drugs are evil, like they say, drugs are satanic. So that means the medical association be dealing with Satan every damn day. But they deal with Satan in a way that they can temper its energies and makes it so that it's supposed to heal you. But these bastards are as evil as hell. And when you start taking something that is potentially deadly and potentially quote unquote evil and then titurate it with intelligence, logic, and reasoning so that it aids in the so-called good, then you know there's no difference. Now where the beast operates from to keep control, that beast knows there's no difference. But we are made in this Christian society with all these Christians around here building up churches and edifices for people to run and hide in from the real world. They go inside so that they can get into this other world that's created by this image that they have in their head. And they got this pulpit man, this pulpit pip talking this nonsense about getting to salvation and getting into Jesus. Just come to Jesus. Just be saved and give up everything else and say, I'm for Jesus. How you going to be for anybody else then? If they say that Jesus is the ultimate good, you ain't responsible to nobody else but to Jesus for your good. Then how can I depend on anybody else? It's ridiculous. If you don't know you are God, which is what Neo found out. Neo found out that he was God and had a black man to tell him. You see what I'm saying? And we're busy telling, every time they want to do something, anytime they want to try something new, they go to black folks. Because they know as God people, as people of the Most High, that whatever we take, we will recreate, mold it so that it becomes a good.
Yeah. Back in the thing with the movie, one of the most apparent things I saw was an altered state of reality. What everyone thought reality was actually not reality. Is there a paradigm for us as people here in the real world, as we call it? Is there a direct sort of a parallel? Well, you remember the fight scenes when he kept telling him, he said, don't think that you're fast.
know that you are. And remember I did the lecture on at the Gathering of the Masters between the knower, the thinker, and the doer. Well, they've separated all three, and they've hid the knower from you and got you in the world of thinking. So all they got you doing is thinking Christ. And if you think Christ and think Jesus, based upon how they've described it to you, they make you think you know it. See, that's dig the secret now. Dig the science. You think you know Jesus. And the operative word is think. So let's look at that again. You think you know Jesus. But you don't know Jesus because the part that is supposed to know Jesus, the knower, you have no understanding of. So now they got you in the realm of the thinker, and they can manipulate the thinker anytime they want. Because the thinker got so many different compartments that they can run to for verification of whatever it is it's been indoctrinated into. The thinker can always and will always be easily manipulated. So we got a whole bunch of educated Negroes who think a lot, think they know Jesus. And when they got a pimp like that talking that nonsense, who can eloquently mold words and emotions,
Right.
They got fools out there yelling and screaming for Jesus while they're being systematically herded into a consciousness matrix, a consciousness construct that will feed into other dark folks and pollute the knower, the element where the knower is to become. They say, know thyself, not think thyself. So here we are getting to think about what we think we know Jesus. But nobody know Jesus, because whatever we know has been put into our thinking matrix. So you damn sure don't know it. So here we are fighting back and forth. And what they were saying in the movie is, you have to know that you are that. Can't nobody give you that knowledge. Can't no Jesus come and tell you that you are God. Can't no Jesus come and tell you that you are saved. Jesus keeps saying that you're going to be greater than me, which means that he already knew in the story form who you are. You don't know who you are. And these priesthoods, these lowlives who put on all these vestments to tell you that they're one-on-one with Jesus, me and Jesus good. So here's what old boy told me to tell you. Come on. We need to grow up. We need to grow the fuck up.
You're right.
We do, because we are infantile when it comes to dealing with the spirit.
Okay. Dialing into reality. In the movie, Neo got the opportunity to sort of plug into what was real. And then he found out that once he knew what was real, they had to dial in to the altered state of consciousness.
That's right.
But we're not at that point yet. We are still attempting to get unplugged. So for a person who's interested, like Neo, and is ready to sort of take a chance, how do we unplug?
Well, see, they get your body from beginning. Remember when he unplugged, you found out where he really was. Well, you go and you send your child to school constantly every day to be plugged into that. And once they plug your child into the education system, he don't know who the hell he is anymore. The whole altered state of reality happens as soon as that child learns that a white man and a white woman sitting up there teaching him is reality. As soon as you see Columbus crossing over to discover the new world and the sky is blue, how the hell we know what them colors really are? How do we know what is this? That ain't wood. That's what you agreed to tell me, that I would pass my test if you said that was wood. So we are constantly being confined in this matrix based upon a linear syntactic world based on constructions of semantics and agreements, contracts to agree that this is reality. And that happens when you give your child over to that beast, and then they begin to mold that child's concepts and constructs of reality. Now that's when the child is lost for good, because now you done plugged it into the back, the child has been cocooned like an alien, and can't nothing but a monster come out that child.
Let's talk about Morpheus. Is that the brother's name?
Yeah, Morpheus.
Fishburne, right?
Yeah.
Morpheus, what does that represent to us now? Morpheus bridged that line of reality and lack of reality, and gave Neo the process for which to plug into reality. But here in our modern world paradigm, where is Morpheus?
Morpheus was Jesus. If you look at the situation, because he came to tell Neo, who represented the new Adam, that's why I say it was Eve, the new Adam, that the limitations of the present world that you've been functioning in no longer apply when you now get out of that. When you come out of that reality, like when he had him on the thing before, he says, well, why do my eyes hurt? He says, because you never really seen him before. When you had him there, when he was working on him with all them pin like that, it's because he was Jesus telling the soul, the collective soul of man, that you don't know the potentials in your body. You don't know what true reality is because you've not been given the chance to construct it based upon what it is that you have the potential to construct. Because everybody else has been leeching the energy that you would use to define your potential. So when we unplug you from the leech, like you unplug from this society, all of a sudden everything hurts. Niggas start to look for all kind of shit. What am I going to do now that master don't take care of me?
Right.
You don't know what to do now. You got your drugs, you get the shakes and stuff like that. You got to detox this system. One thing Keith said, it was always that quoting Buddha Baruka, it's not good to stay in a white man country too long because immediately you get into his way of thinking and being, you start talking like he does. And that shit is like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, so it ain't about me hating anybody white because they talk about us just like this. They know that we are their virus. Because once they interbreed with us, it's over. And everybody coming from them after that is dark. They got the seed in there. But they need to do that, like I was saying, so that they can save the future generation. So they need to convert our sisters into acting and becoming like them, so that when the seed is planted in the sister, they can then now take that seed and grow that seed in their image and likeness and have a vehicle to get them to the next paradigm. Because this old body they got, it ain't gonna work in the next paradigm. And that's why he had to stick all them pins and needles and shit, get the boy to retrain, put his whole body and his whole psyche back into check to get him ready to be able to leap that building, to realize his speed potential, to work, to move like this virtual reality that imitated the real reality. See, that's what the computer was supposed to do. Kind of be the bridge between the reality that the machines were trying to keep the humans from reaching. All right, that was the symbol of the clouding of the sky. See, when they said we thought that if we blocked out the sun, that would be off for them. That was the machines were the brothers at the time. White people was thinking, okay, we kill them off because we know we fuck with the melanin. You know, fuck with the melanin or the brothers, we kept them in check. But now these machines, shit, let's just cut the whole fucking sky off and maybe that'll get them. But they just turned it on themselves. That's like they always do. Just like they always do.
You know, when I saw the movie, I saw the Christian parallel, and I thought about it for a little bit, because I also saw Larry Fishburne or Morpheus as sort of a John the Baptist saying that the Messiah is coming.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's another angle. It's a good angle.
But the important thing is that when it's all said and done, holistic medicine, holistic science becomes those things that we're plugging into ourselves.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how holistic science, and these things are the things that will help us generate and get acclimated to reality?
Yeah, that's a good question. It depends on how we become dependent and on what do we become dependent. We have been taught to become dependent on what is an analog nature. The Caucasoid has conquered nature, manifest destiny. Okay? The manifest destiny energy has caused us to think we could conquer nature as the king of nature, as the top of the food chain. Because we had greater intelligence, or capacity, I would say intelligence, we were smarter than most of the other animals clawing at their environment, that we could do things to manipulate nature into doing a certain thing. Just like I was speaking about in Matrix when he said that, you know, this beast who you are, and he had Fishburne all tied up. He said, you smell. I mean, he says, one creature, every creature, he said, you're a mammal. I don't know if you could be even called a mammal, because all mammals seek to get into synchronicity with their environment. You don't. You just destroy it. But hell, he must have been talking about these Caucasoids, because for 51, 61, 75,000 years, Africans been living in their environment. And it was just fine until this devil came along. So essentially, we have this whole bridging of psychological and psychospiritual realities coming together at one time to make the point of, is nature to be conquered, or is nature to be understood? And thus, that's the conquest. We conquered nature, if you want to talk about that, because, that's like chasing the elusive, beautiful woman that you've been looking for. What is it that she wants? How do you live in harmony with her? You ain't going to beat her on the head like he did in them caves and drag her in the damn hut. You know what I'm saying? It don't work like that. So he never established a relationship with nature like everybody else did. And in so doing, he has separated himself from nature. Now, can we become dependent by our actions? In other words, the rituals and the sciences that we had that gave us access to the secrets without having to pry it from her. In other words, have her tell it to us. We invoke it rather than provoke it. See? This devil thinks completely different from us. Now, can we become dependent in this holistic age? When we talk about whole, is it about fragmenting everything and studying the little fragments to see what we can find out about the whole? Or it is allowing the whole to be and then creating an understanding and understanding and overstanding of how the whole is operating and thus define the fragments? The white man went completely opposite, destroys everything, then tries to find out where to put the pieces back together again. We don't work like that. So in holism, do we go to the herbs like the white man would and tell the herbs, hey, you gonna give me this shit here, headache? I got a motherfucking headache. Give me your bark. And start ripping that shit up and putting it in little tablets instead of going to the living presence, this living thing that has created a dynamic where your body can synergize with it, like they did with the pycnogenol up in the western states when they used to take the bark of the pine bark. And when these sailors had crashed up on shore and started getting sick, they used the pine bark pycnogenol. And when they started giving them the tonic of the pycnogenol, took away their diseases. Now, niggas been knowing that 10,000 years and shit. But now, here we got pycnogenol, baby. And it's, the devil, every time he gets hold of something, he uses it incorrectly. So that's why he has to define himself, or at least augment his inability to interface by using technologies to try to pry it from you or look at the microscopic and go into nanotech. Well, we know that this does that. So what shit? You're still dying at the same rate? You still ain't answered shit. So when the time comes for them to say, okay, no more machines, let's go back to this machine. Let's see how this shit is operating. But now their whole thing again is to control, because they need to survive. And if you were there at the gathering, you hear I was telling you that there is a necessity for this Caucasoid to maintain the population at a specific level so that they can be in control or they can even survive. So in holism, brother, holism is not thinking in fragments or acting fragmentally, which is very difficult because then that means you have to take everything into account before we act. And most people are just acting to just make food and keep the roof, and that's the distraction.